Beautiful spring day, and I'm happy to be here at the confluence of the Lackawaxen and Delaware rivers. It's a spring and fall activity, folks. So there's the Lackawaxen River right there. You can see the Erie Railroad Bridge right crossing what is, believe it or not, the earliest towpath here on the Lackawaxen side. And we have the remains of the prism right here. I'm going to slowly swing along. There's the railroad bridge again. The river, Lackawaxen that is, and then out there, dead ahead, the Delaware. And early on then, there was a dam, would have been forward of this, that created a pond that they were then able to, they called it the Delaware Pond. Caused them no end of difficulty with the lumbermen who thought it was their river. They've been bringing timber down the Delaware River to market for, probably a century or two even prior. But now this is all that's left. This part of the canal route was abandoned in the final enlargement of 1850 when John Roebling built his two aqueducts, one across the river to our right and the other across the river to our left. But it's nice here on the Pennsylvania side of the D&H Canal to see what little we can of that early pre-1850 canal. Here I am at the site of John Roebling's Delaware Aqueduct, still extant right here. This is an easy hike. If you're ever in the area, I'd encourage you to go because you get this great look at this technological marvel. It was John Augustus Roebling's suspension aqueduct. This is the only one of the four that he built for the D&H between 1847 and 1850 that is still extant and in use as a highway bridge now. With all these rushes, these weeds, whatever they are, it's hard to see what's what, but then all of a sudden we get up on this nice watered stretch. I have the sun in my eyes here, but I'll figure this out for you. Actually, I'll keep going because I can get in the shadow of the aqueduct and see what it is I'm doing here. There we go. So now there is the watered stretch of canal directly in front of us. This was after 1850. Prior to 1850, there was a dam. Oh, it might be where we see that. Might be over in there, but there was a dam across here which created what they called the Delaware Pond. And they had a rope ferry, and the single animal, because those boats were much smaller, a single animal was all you needed, would get put on the boat and you'd pull yourself across here. And then the canal continued on. And what we're seeing right here is part of that earlier route. So after 1850, this section was not in use for the main of the canal route, at least. Might as well get a good look at this abutment. And let me just see if I can manage to show you, since we're under this. I'm just reading where they took out the water, made it a plank bridge, but it was not just unstable, but really flopped around a lot. And eventually, when they made a highway bridge out of it, they poured concrete equal to the weight of the water so that it's steady to the point where it was when Roebling originally designed it. So here we're going to walk. Nice to see these stretches that have got water in them, evocative of what it might have been like. Again, though, it's way overgrown, trees barring the way up ahead. So now, this is the earlier canal route, and when they built the two, they had John Roebling build the pair of aqueducts, one over the Lackawaxen, one over the Delaware. That was because the owner of the confluence was antagonistic, didn't want to sell to the company. It was worth it for them to just have two of these wonderful suspension aqueducts built instead. This is the side to show you. The sun lighting it up nice here. Just a bit before noon. But so see the level there, and yet notice the water here. Those new aqueducts brought the level of the canal up further, and they had to realign and replace locks. It looks to me, I forget, I should know this, I think about 30 foot. Each of the locks at that point in time were about 10 foot of lift. But it's wonderful that you can walk right along the Delaware River here and have this remnant of the earlier canal bed. If my memory serves, we will converge with the new canal bed. I know that there's one lock that's at the one I believe immediately after the Roebling Aqueduct is now under the road. But at a certain point, we should see off to our left, above this, the canal joining it. You just saw some traffic on Route 97. This is right along the Delaware River. Crosses over to Lackawaxen, Pennsylvania. So now the canal prism is still extant, and if you look carefully, you can see the stone lining that would have been here on this towpath side. It looks as though it might have been narrower and wider on the bottom, if you know what I mean. They had to have boats that were 9 foot wide had to travel this section. It's been so long since it's held water. All sorts of things might have gone on. So, okay, now we're seeing, I believe, the canal's starting to join us here. The later canal, the higher post-1850 enlarged canal. They actually expended more money enlarging it than they did to build it originally. At one point they had 3,500 people. Oh, there's a good bit of stonework from the canal right there. You can hear the traffic. 3,500 men. At one point, they order 2,270 shovels in one pop. Always love that statistic. Gives you a sense of how much work, how many people were employed. Arduous. And now here we've got a wonderful shot of the towpath supporting wall. We're losing it in some sections, but still pretty nice in others. So this earliest part of the enlargement, the original canal route, that was no longer needed to carry traffic after the final enlargement. Remember that the Roebling Aqueduct went a couple locks worth higher over the river than the original route had done. But this section remained very important. There was a guard lock just west of where the Roebling Aqueduct went, and that the water would still run down here. And when the new canal reached the old canal's, dropped down to the old canal's level right here, it was a feeder. What is now, sometime after 1898, filled in right here, where there's the bluestone, was actually a pedestrian bridge. And unlike most of the bridges on the D&H, it wouldn't have had to been high enough to allow a boat through. It could actually be at the towpath level. But with the new towpath over there, that's the stonework on the side of it, this is where the two towpaths joined. So where there's stone today, there was a bridge and water was allowed under. So as to feed the Delaware River, they still needed a source of water to get this thing down to Port Jervis. So they were capturing the Delaware River using the old canal route as a feeder. In essence, it was always a feeder, because when they built the canal in 1825, 1826 to 1827, this section, they had a guard lock and they would be capturing water. That would be the first source on this side of the Delaware River. They had to catch their water whenever they could.